Hassan was once the kind of man who walked through life with his head held high, not out of arrogance, but because he thought he had everything figured out. He had a stable job, a small but loving family, and friends who made life seem easy. His connection to Allah was there, but distant, occasional prayers, a fast here and there in Ramadan, some charity when reminded. Islam was a part of his identity, but not the anchor of his life. But life has a way of reminding us how fragile our sense of control is. It started with the loss of his job. The company downsized, and he was let go without warning. At first, Hassan stayed hopeful. He believed he'd find something else soon. But weeks turned into months. Interviews led to silence. The small savings he had began to run dry. Tension crept into his marriage. His wife tried to be supportive, but the pressure of unpaid bills and unanswered prayers wore heavily on both of them. He found himself questioning everything. Why would Allah put him through this when he wasn't a bad person? Why did his sincere efforts go unrewarded? Every night, he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, his chest tight with worry, his thoughts loud with fear. Slowly, bitterness began to replace his patience. One evening, after yet another failed interview and an argument at home, Hassan left the house and walked aimlessly through the city streets. He ended up near a masjid he hadn't stepped into in years. It was Maghrib time. The call to prayer echoed in the air, soft but heavy with meaning. Something inside him shifted. He hesitated at the entrance. He felt ashamed of how far he had strayed, how easily he had forgotten the one who had always been there. But he stepped in. He made wudu, tears mixing with the cold water as it touched his face. And then he prayed, really prayed, not out of routine, but from a heart shattered and seeking light. After Salah, he sat in a corner of the masjid, and for the first time in years, he raised his hands in sincere dua. Not for money, not for success, but for peace, for forgiveness, for closeness to Allah. He wept like a child. He told Allah everything, the anger, the confusion, the fear, the regrets. He asked for strength, for guidance, for a heart that trusts even in pain. From that night, Hassan began to change. His problems didn't vanish. He still struggled financially, but something inside him was different. He started waking up for Fajr, even when sleep pulled at his eyes. He read Quran with meaning, not just words. He began to feel the sweetness of dhikr on his tongue when no one was around. He found moments of peace even in the storm. One day, while sitting in a local masjid, a brother who had recently opened a halal food distribution business approached him. They spoke briefly, and the man offered Hassan a job. It wasn't glamorous, but it was dignified. It was enough. Hassan took it with gratitude, and his life slowly found balance again. But more than his financial recovery, it was the return of his heart to Allah that became his true success. Years later, as he sat with his son, he told him, "My son, never think that your hardship means Allah has abandoned you. Sometimes He withholds so you return. Sometimes He tests you so your heart can be purified. What He gives is mercy, and what He withholds is mercy." Then he recited with quiet emotion, "And whosoever puts his trust in Allah, then He will suffice him." Surah At-Talaq, 65:3. And in that moment, with the weight of experience behind his words, Hassan's story was no longer about loss. It was about finding something far greater than what he had before. It was about finding Allah again.